Hey guys, Cameron here from Palmetto State Armory. We're back with another Coffee Talk episode, and today I got a special guest for you guys. I got Eric Schmid from Schmid Tool and Engineering, as well as Mountain Billy Gun Lab. Eric, thank you for coming on, my friend.
Cameron,
Appreciate you making the trip.
always good to see you, buddy. Thanks.
So, one of the things that we wanted to do here on the Coffee Talk is we already gave you guys a lot of insight into our JJE brands. Now the goal is to share with you who our partners are in the industry and some of the old guards in the industry like Schmid Tool and Engineering that are helping stand up the firearms industry as a whole for 50 years, 40 years now, right? I mean, it's been a long time, right? So, we wanted to bring Eric on, tell his story, and let you guys know what they're doing for the firearms industry. So Eric, talk to me about your grandfather who started Schmid in 1943 in Chicago. Like,
Oh.
what was his thought? Like, where did he get into doing Schmid Tool and Engineering from?
So he was a glass grinder trained in Germany. So he was grinding glass over there and said, "Hey, I'm going to skip the pond and come over to America for a better life." And that's what he did. And he ended up working for a bunch of Swedish guys, I believe, and running the back room, um, grinding glass and running about, I think he had about 30 German tool and die glass grinders in the back room that were under his control. And he was grinding tank sites of all things during World War II.
Really?
Yeah, and the company got pinched for sending some bad sites in, just like they were just off a little bit. But when you're making stuff for the military, a little bit's a mile. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter what it
100%.
is. If you're off a little bit, doesn't even matter if it's a airball dimension, you're in trouble. So, anyways, these guys came in, and you can imagine when they come into this place to see who's grinding the tank sites during World War II, and nobody spoke English. They all spoke German.
Oh my gosh. So then,
Yeah.
so the government came in and saw that they were all Germans. So did they think it was like an inside job or
Well,
something?
you have I if I'm walking there and I'm looking at that, I'm like, we got Houston,
Yeah,
we
we
got
have
a
a problem.
problem."
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so but those guys were dedicated Americans once they skipped the pond, and they were grinding, they were making it perfect. I think my grandfather got yanked away and interviewed on the whole deal. So
Really? And so did he start so at that time it wasn't Schmid Tool and Engineering, right?
no, no, that was just a job that
Yeah.
he was at, yeah.
And so then when did he decide to start doing his own thing?
Well, after he left there, I guess it wasn't too long that he started up Huber Schmidt and with a partner. And that guy, Mr. Huber, wanted to get out of it pretty quick, I guess. So my grandfather bought him out, and Schmid Tool and Engineering
That's
was
awesome.
formed.
So what did they start doing? Because it started in 1943, right? So like what did they do in the beginning?
Yeah, so we were building tooling for progressive dies and compound dies in the stamping world is
Nice.
what he took his talents to.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
And so then when did you guys finally start getting into the firearms industry, right? Because you're talking about doing dies and stamping stuff. So then how did it transform into the firearms industry?
So kind of fast forward, my grandfather started doing the tool and die. They grew a little bit more, grew a little bit more. They moved out to Franklin Park, Illinois, which is kind of like western suburbs of Chicago. And my dad started working for him. And my dad was an engineer out of Michigan State. He graduated from there, and he wanted to get into production. So they started doing compound dies, and they started buying presses and running the actual
Nice.
production. Finally, a little bit further along, my dad buys his father out. Bang, he buys his first CNC, an Ackerlock. I think it had like 12 tools or something like that. And shortly after that, a gentleman walked in about 1980, maybe about a year after we had the machine, and there was a casting company nearby called Casting Engineers, and they were trying to machine the triggers themselves, but they're casting guys.
Yep.
So I sent their rep out looking, and this guy walked into my dad's door and said, "Hey, you think you can do this?" And my dad looked at him and goes, "Sure,
Yeah.
yeah, of course I can.
Yeah. I got a
I
CNC
got a
machine.
machine. I can
Yeah.
do that. Yeah."
Yeah.
So I figured it out, and as the story goes, there's a quality guy at Colt Manufacturing was the ultimate customer for that. And it was a military job, and Lou Pepe was the quality guy, and Lou Pepe was quoted many times saying, "I've never seen triggers this good. I've never. We've had lots of people
Yep.
supplying, and nobody's made them this good and this, what was the word he used? Pretty much homogenous, like they're all good,
Yeah.
So, um,
So
we just got more and more work from them as we went along.
so that is how you guys started making the first triggers, right? And
Yeah,
so then what, as you guys grew in that business, so were you supplying the triggers then to the military at that point, or
no,
was it just Colt?
just Colt.
Just Colt.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so then how did it transform into what you guys are today, right? Because I mean, the cat's out the bag. Like, I mean, you see the S Mark triggers everywhere, right? Like, I
yeah,
mean, like
yeah,
there's a standard, and I feel like you guys helped set that standard all the way back in 1980.
I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah, well, in 1980, it took a long time before. I guess I should back up. Like, after we were making those parts for Colt for quite a long time, the AR-15 started gaining more popularity as a civilian weapon of choice. Late '80s, it started to take off a little bit, but like the first couple times that we went looking for other customers, we'd go to a gun show, and you'd never see an AR-15 out in the front. You saw hunting rifles, you saw
yeah,
all kinds of stuff. You never see, you'd never see the military stuff. And when you did, you knew because it was like, whoa, what am I looking at here? It was different.
yeah,
You know,
100%.
now it's the opposite.
Yeah,
It's the
100%. Yeah,
opposite.
yeah. You go to,
Oh, here's a deer rifle, but in the sea of black guns.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
It's like a
completely
one
flip
up. It's
flop,
completely flipped over,
completely
right?
flip flop.
So
Yeah.
what other parts? Like, I mean, I know we're talking about the firearms industry and what you do, but like, you guys don't only make firearms industry parts,
We
right?
make
Like,
some car parts too, and we're actually looking for more opportunity outside the gun market, and that's just to, everybody in the gun market knows that we are a volatile ride. We're a roller
100%.
coaster. Yeah, you
I know.
guys
I
know
was
you.
I was literally just talking about it last night to a buddy of mine who was asking me about a gun and about buying a gun, and we're talking about jobs and stuff. I'm like, man, like the firearms industry is just a roller coaster. Like, and you just got to hang on, right?
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
mean, you guys have been doing it since 1980, so you're kind of you understand it, right?
yeah. You got to be careful. You got to extend yourself at the right time. You got to be careful not to get caught with your pants down, because, I mean, I've seen it over the years. People getting in big trouble.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's Wile E. Coyote style. It's like,
Yeah, it
what?
just falls off a cliff
It
out of
falls off a
nowhere.
cliff. It's
Yep.
crazy
Or
how.
then the spikes.
And then the spike is just the same way.
I mean, because during COVID, it was insane.
Booming,
Yeah, it was insane.
booming.
It was
Yeah,
insane. I remember on the floor, we were building like 3,000, guns every single day. And we would
yeah,
come in the next day. I'm like, hell yeah, we had a great day today. We'd come in the next day and they'd all be out of stock. And I'd be like, this is exhausting.
yeah,
And it was like that for like a year, like
yeah,
straight. And I'm like, this is the craziest thing that I've ever seen in my entire life. Right.
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
actually kind of nice that's kind of normalizing a little bit, but it's those lulls that, it's hard to get out of sometimes in the firearms industry. And that's why, like, hate to say it, but it's kind of like a dog eat dog world sometimes, right? I mean, like,
a little bit.
it's a saturated market now, right? So like, what are you doing to be different out there?
Yeah, you gotta keep on innovating, I guess, and Palmetto's doing a great job of that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, thanks to your help. I mean,
yeah.
obviously we get a lot of triggers and stuff from you guys, but there's also a ton of other parts that you guys help us with too, right?
Oh, yeah,
I
there's
mean,
yeah.
you guys helped us make front sight bases in the past, right? You guys make AK parts sometimes for us,
We
right?
made a
Like,
ton of AK parts for you guys, yeah,
I mean, you
yeah.
helped us get to where we are today, and I think that's why Jamin and you are so close is because like, I always tell you this in person. It's like you are part of the old guard of the industry, in my opinion, right?
Right.
I'm more of a younger guy, I guess,
Yeah,
younger in
yeah.
the industry side of things, but like I see you as some of these guys and Schmid Tool are the guys that help stand up the firearms industry to what it is today, right?
Sure.
And there's a lot more competition and a lot more saturation out there, but you guys really help set this up.
Yeah, I mean, we've partnered with a lot of companies over the years to help them not have, I guess, in a sense, not have to spend the money on making hammers and triggers and some of the
Yeah,
parts,
I mean, because you guys
lower
do it
parts kits.
best. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've always just kept on increasing our volume. I mean, I think right now we can make 200,000 fire control groups in a month.
That's insane. I was just
I
gonna
mean,
ask you, like, what's the volume look like for you
yeah,
guys on
yeah,
triggers? Like, is
yeah.
it 200,000?
We can make 200,000. We probably do more than that if we turn on some of the old machines, but right now we can make
That's insane.
200,000 hammers and triggers a month.
That's insane. And not only are you guys making a mil spec trigger, but I worked with you guys on our saber claw trigger, and we kind of came up with our own spring design and our own spring system for that. And different
fun
coating.
project. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
fun. For my
Yeah.
guys, it was fun. They were like, "Oh god, we get to do something
Yeah,
different
it's
and
not
new."
just
It
a
was
mil
ki
spec
yeah,
trigger, right? And,
yeah.
and that was the fun part about like what you guys do is like you have the castings, but that doesn't mean you're just tied to a mil spec trigger.
Oh, no, we
You
can make
can make it
anything.
yourself, right? You can change your spring, you can change your coating, you can change your polishing, right? And
Right.
and make these top-notch triggers, or you could just go with a mil spec trigger and you have it and you're
Oh,
ready to
yeah.
go. You're ready to go. So what I know family is super important to you and
Yeah.
also Schmid as a whole, right? Your grandfather started it, your dad started it. Now you're running it with your sister, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, so what's it like having her and
My
like having this family? Like, because you're all
Well, she's
family.
she's definitely my better 3 quarters in the work life, you know what I mean? She's smarter than me and,
Yeah.
everybody likes her. She's prettier than me,
Well, I don't know
the
about that. I think you got a good
well,
looks out
thanks. I
there.
appreciate that, camera, but, the truth is, people would rather talk to her than
Yeah.
me a lot of the time. So, yeah, family is really important, and coming from a family business is much different too. And I know a lot of the gun companies are family businesses as well.
Yep.
These guys start these things up with a dream, and they want to pass them off to their kids. And boy, it's super important to get to the lawyers quick and figure that stuff out, so you don't get pinched by Uncle Sam.
A hundred
Because
percent.
yeah, I would urge anybody
Yeah.
to look into that.
So what's
Go
it
get some help. But
so what's it like working with family on a daily basis? Because I'm sure that has some kind of challenges, right? Because like at the end of the day, you're family, but there is business involved.
yeah, well, you know, family's interesting. I mean, my me and my sister get along great. We're only 18 months apart. I always introduce her as my older sister. It's only because she's more mature,
Yeah.
but she is 18 months younger than me. We get along fabulously. So we're on the same page all the time, even when we're not. I can easily step across the line to her page, or vice versa. It's very easy with us. But I've seen lots of families that don't get along.
Yeah.
It's super important that you pick what you're good at and add that to the business, and not don't get greedy. Don't
Yeah.
all those things that get in the way of having a good relationship. You really gotta think those things through before you act on them, because a lot of people get entitled,
Yeah.
and they think they deserve more or whatever. You really gotta look at yourself in the mirror and take a good hard look at yourself and say, "No, I'm good. I can share this. I can
Yeah.
work together." That's really important to get a good family business going. But as far as the family business, seeing that I'm 3rd generation, and I wanna put this thing to the 4th generation if I can. I feel more like a curator than an owner. I have a weird I tell people this, I have a weird thing about ownership. I don't even feel like I own my house. I'm just living there till I'm gone.
Yeah.
It's like same thing with these buildings. I own a couple buildings, and I'm like, I don't feel like an owner. I feel like a curator.
Yeah.
I'm just watching it while I'm around.
That's right. Well, now, you talked about the passing on the fourth generation, right? You got your son Braxton, you
Yeah.
got your sister, you got family, you got cousins. Like
Niece
there's
Kaylin.
yeah,
Yeah.
Kaylin, like everyone's involved. I mean, Kaylin's crazy. Like she's awesome. Like she's
Yeah.
doing so much with you guys now too. It's like it's really cool to see though, like from my side of things, like when we go to these shows, right? Like we go out to dinner all the time together, right? We're at these shows. Like
Yeah.
it feels like just one big family, and it's really cool to see that there's still that out there, and especially in the firearms industry, where you're able to bring your family together and it's just everyone can mesh and kind of be one big happy family together.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see that.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about Schmid. So what is the Schmid Inside program, and like how do you become a member of that?
Oh, well, you just call up, email up, and ask to be a membership. Get a membership. It's super simple. It's not, it's business to business like we always did. But the reason why we created it is because we had lots of smaller customers that would scream the most. Nothing against them, but they're smaller, so a
Yep.
little bit meant a big deal to them, right?
Yep.
So I totally understood why their pants are on fire when they don't get like 20 or 50 or 100, because that's their whole production, and
Yeah.
they promise these guns to people. So anyways, what we did there is we took all the smaller customers and put them together to make one big customer for Schmid Tool.
Yep.
That's kind of what we did, and we
And
kind of try to do it online so it would be less impactful, and we could do it with less manpower.
well, and that's smart though, because again, going back to, some of these smaller gun shops, right? Like that's their whole livelihood. They might only be making 100 guns a month, right? And sometimes, the big players out there, and I know people say that about PSA, but like sometimes the buying power, you're buying up all the parts and the tools. So to be able to have something like Schmidt inside where they can still get what they need when they need it is a big deal.
Yeah.
And you're so, you're not leaving the small guy behind, right?
Right, which is imperative to the industry, and I know Jamin thinks the same way along those
Yep.
lines, and PSA thinks, because I went to a guy, and I'll tell you this little story, but we're getting off the subject a little
No,
bit,
go.
but I'm at, where was it? SHOT Show maybe about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, is when the AK was super hot
Yep.
and everything was going really good with it. There was a kid that was building AKs, and the type is like small,
Yep.
dreamer, gonna make his gun company. He's probably still doing good because this kid was he was on fire. It was great, but he said I'm really having trouble getting parts, and I said, well, you should call up one of my customers. I could set you up with them, and he's like, oh, you know what? I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them already. And he was talking about Palmetto State Armory. He wouldn't have been there.
That's
He wouldn't have
awesome.
made it there with his guns because you guys helped him out.
That's awesome.
So,
That's
yeah,
awesome to see. And
yeah,
you guys helped us out get us there, right?
sure.
And that's something that, I think kind of goes unshadowed is, from our point of view on Palmetto State Armory, yeah, we make complete guns, but we also sell the parts for those guys that are building guns in their garage and
Yeah,
want to make a living on their own, right? And they can't get these parts anywhere else because they don't have the money to invest in the castings, the molds, and whatever it is. But we're trying to help do that,
yeah,
and you guys helped us get there,
yeah,
right? I mean, I think that's a fair statement to say, right?
sure. I mean, we're partners.
Yep.
We've been partners from, I can't remember when Jamin and his brother actually started the business way back
2008.
when. I know it's a different business now, but the 2008.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we were on board shortly after that,
Yeah.
making your hammers and triggers for
Yeah.
you
I think
guys.
it was like
Yeah, so
2010, right?
yeah, and I couldn't be a better ride for me. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
How
been
about
great.
it?
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, and people at Palmetto are always they're like family. We talk about you talked about family earlier. Family's in business too. You
Yep.
spend more time, unfortunately. We spend more time, fortunately,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Whether what fortunately for people in the gun industry, I feel like, because people in the gun industry are still, you shake my hand, I'm gonna do whatever I can do to make that word true.
100%.
But so I consider extended family, you know,
Oh,
Palmetto's like my extended family. Colt's like my extended family. These customers are like family,
yep.
and the people inside my walls are like family.
Yeah.
We spend a ton of time with people you work with.
100%. And
So
and I think one of my favorite things every year at SHOT Show is going out to dinner, having the Schmid dinner. Every
yeah,
Wednesday at SHOT Show, the Schmid dinner is what I look forward to. Now, I'll tell you what, I am scared of heights. So going up to the top of the stratosphere and you guys trying to liquor me up to get on those rides on the top scare the crap out of
this year
me.
you're going. We're gonna do it.
I'm not doing it this year. I promise. I
Come on
promise.
now.
So let's talk about a little side project that is very
Oh
recent. So
yeah,
talk to me about Mountain Billy Gun Lab. Like, where did that come from?
Mount. Well, boy, this one's tougher. So I was making parts. I was making bolts for another. Yeah, yeah, I guess I could say it was a youth rifle. I was making bolts for a youth rifle, and the idea came to me.
I was gonna say it's like
Um,
a perfect survival rifle. I
it
mean, it's compact. You know the controls. It's lightweight. Like I think that the way that I see the gun is a survival rifle, right? And
mhm,
it's threaded on the front. So if you want to put it suppressed on there and shooting 22 suppressed is probably the best ammo to shoot
so
suppressed,
fun.
right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's a perfect squirrel gun. It's a perfect backpack style gun. You're out hiking in the mountains and you want to bring something with you. You're camping up on the top of a mountain and
uh huh,
you need to, shoot a small game or something like that to eat for dinner or lunch. Like I think it's a perfect gun for that avenue.
absolutely. And we are marketing it as a training rifle. We're not going to tell anybody who to train
Yep.
or who to teach.
Yep.
That's not our business.
Yep.
We decided we're backing off of that,
For
but
sure.
it's a great training rifle.
Yeah. And
You've
it,
got a
and
small statured shooter like a young lady who weighs 98 pounds and wants to learn. This is the perfect gun to introduce
for sure.
her to shooting.
For sure. And it
Very
and
unscary.
and the controls are nice too because it's very similar to an AR-15.
Identical.
It's just smaller,
Yeah.
right? And ultimately, and it's lighter. It's able to be able to manipulate the same. So if you train with it, you get used to it. Or if you're training with an AR and you want something light, like you already are familiar with the controls, right? And that's
Yeah.
important. So where do you see Mountain Billy Gun Lab like going? So I know we're talking right before this. You got a 10-round mag coming, right?
Mhm.
When this gun is sold, does it come with a 1-round mag and a 5-round
It
mag?
comes with a single round and a 5 round. That may change when we have the 10 round out. It
Yeah,
might be a single round or a 10 round.
got it.
The single round, obviously, for the training
Yeah,
aspect, and you can
100%.
always buy more mags. We do have an AK variant coming
Oh,
out that looks and functions just like an AK.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know you were
Oh,
coming out with an
yeah.
AK
You wanna
version.
see a picture?
After this,
Yeah, well,
100%.
there you
I'd like to
go.
get my hands on one too and have some
Yeah.
fun with it.
Yeah, we've got a firing prototype, so we're working on that, but we've gotta sell enough
Uh,
GOAT 15s to
yeah,
yeah, to get the tooling going, so, you know, after that, there's a couple other projects I'd like to do, so it's a little gun company, a little passion project, I just
yeah.
yeah.
So Schmid Tool is in Chicago or
Yes.
outside of Chicago, right?
Yep.
And Mountain Billy's in Utah. So are you traveling back and forth? Because you live in Utah. So are
I
you going back and forth like every week or like how does that
I spend, 1 or 2 weeks a month in Chicago.
gotcha?
Yeah.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
and then you're just going back and forth, right? Yeah, I mean, and you got a great crew running that there. I mean, Fritz is my boy. I love Fritzy. I mean, he's such a good dude. I mean,
Yeah.
he's you got a really good crew and it's
Family.
yeah, 100%. I mean, because
Yeah.
he how long has Fritz been with? Fritz been with you guys
Oh,
for a
he's been
while,
for a
right?
while. So even before that, he was working for our casting supplier, Signacast, one of our
Yeah,
casting suppliers, Signacast. Um, and we hired him from them, which was
that's
which was
awesome.
which worked pretty well.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
we're obviously we talked about Mountain Billy Gun Lab about the future coming out with an AK, a 10-round mag, right? Is there any other future kind of state of what that's going to look like? Or is that kind of like the near future? Like, do you have a vision for 5 to 10 years from now?
5 to 10 years. In 5 years, I'd like to have at least three
Right.
weapons out,
Yeah,
which
three.
is which I think is about right,
Yeah.
for us to be able to do. So yeah, 5 years, about
What
three
about
weapons.
what about Schmid? Where do you see that going?
Oh boy, we're not going away from the gun market, but we're about to get our AS 9100, so we're looking at doing aerospace parts. We're
Nice.
looking at medical,
Yeah.
dental,
Spread, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Getting in
spread,
different industries,
yeah,
right?
different industries. Just get into some different industries to stabilize the boat. It's always nice to do. But I kind of I it's almost like we don't have to try too hard to get gun parts right now.
Yeah,
People we're fairly well established and people know who we are in the gun industry, I feel like.
for sure.
We've been serving them faithfully for like you said, for since 1980.
Which is
So
crazy. It's
yeah,
crazy to think about.
yeah, yeah.
So now for some fun stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So
That
you're
was all fun already.
well, touche, touche. So I know that you are a free spirit and an adventurer.
Okay.
So if you weren't doing Schmid and Mount Billy, what would you be doing?
Oh boy. If I wasn't doing that. Well, I graduated from the University of Utah with a Bachelor of Fine Arts in photography, so I might be doing art somewhere,
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
know
might
that.
be. Oh yeah, you didn't know that? I
No.
got a fine arts degree.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
what?
all the business I learned was like, running your head into the brick wall.
Yeah, yeah.
So
With your
I got
dad,
I
your
got
grandfather.
I got
Yeah.
really good business education. It was the tough way.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome. So
yeah.
what out in Utah though, you're out there driving dirt
Oh,
bikes, you're out there,
sure.
you're an outdoor guy. Like Utah
Yeah,
is the perfect
snowmobiles,
state for
dirt
you.
bikes, yeah, all that. Skiing, dirt bike. I just recently 3 years ago started buying snowmobiles, and I'm having a gas doing that too. So
Yeah, well, that's
yeah,
that's
you're
awesome.
welcome to come out anytime you
Yeah,
want.
well, that'd be great because 'cause I'm still
I'll
sitting
keep you
here in
alive.
December wearing t-shirt and shorts, right? But
Right.
I don't want no snow down here. I'm done shoveling snow.
Yeah.
I moved down here for a reason, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, the other thing, we talked about family. I know family's super important. You gotta be super proud of your kids. So
Oh, yeah.
talk to me about your daughter. Her singing, what's she doing? Talk to me about her.
Well, she's just starting, she's at the U where I went to school, which is great, and it's only a half an hour from my house, which is the best.
Yeah, yep,
Having
close.
kids close is great. But yeah, I'm super proud of her. She's so talented. She I mean, literally, she can, like, start playing a song, like, she'll be up in a gig, and somebody will say, "Hey, can you play whatever?" She's like, "Well, I'll give it a try,"
Yeah,
and it's
that's
like, start playing it. I'm like,
Free bird.
how do you do that? I don't even know
Yeah.
how she does it, you know? And, she's got great stage presence. But she's in school, so she can only do it once in a while. She's,
Yeah.
like, doing maybe 2 or 3 gigs a month at the
Yeah.
most, but she lights up like a
100%.
candle when she's
I
doing the
remember
gigs,
this
yeah.
past year at SHOT Show, I was, like, walking the floor and I hear somebody singing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
your daughter.
Yeah.
Like what, that's awesome. So where
Yeah.
do people go to find out about your daughter? Like where can they go see her music?
She's on Instagram on Claire's Clairs gigs dot gigs. Yeah.
Claire's Gigs.
Claire's gigs. Yeah.
So talk to me about Braxton because you're proud of him too,
Oh,
right?
yeah, of
So
course.
Braxton's working at Gallinson's Guns, right?
Yeah, what I think Gallant's has the claim of the longest running gun
Yeah.
store in
Yeah,
America.
isn't it like one of the
Yeah, under
oldest
under
gunners?
Tim Bolton.
Yeah.
Yeah, a buddy of
Yeah.
mine now who I'm beginning to really fall in love with the guy. He's great.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
great. I mean, I've been
Yeah.
seeing like they're updating it right now. I see it all the updates on Instagram. It's looking really cool.
It is cool.
Some of the
Yeah.
stuff like the handles, they're putting old revolvers as handles on the
You
door
saw
and
that.
well,
Yeah, I already grabbed onto that. I already
that's awesome.
handled that door.
So how
Yeah.
far away is that from you guys? Like where
It's
you're
about
living?
20 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad.
20 minutes. Yeah. I
So-
go down there often when Braxton's working there.
Yeah. So Braxton's doing that, but he's also helping you on Mountain Billy Gun Lab too, right?
Sure, he goes all to the shows. He's taking care of a lot of the shoots, any of the public shoots, anywhere where the gun is openly. And he's my RO because he went to Colorado and got certified instructor for
That's awesome.
NRA.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
he's like, I mean, he's so into guns. I mean, I can't even tell you.
Oh,
He had his concealed carry permit filled out like 6 months in advance, and he went down and dropped it off on the day of his birthday. That's what he
That's
did for
awesome.
that's what he did for his 21st birthday.
I know. I'm following him on Instagram.
Yeah.
He is your son
Yeah.
through and through. Like he is a free spirit out there in the desert of Utah, just having fun, shooting guns and living life. It's really
Yeah.
cool to see. And now
Yeah.
he's in college too, right?
He's in college too. He's at Slick Salt Lake Community College right now.
That's awesome.
And probably going to the back to the U next year or next semester.
Good for him.
Yeah,
He must be proud.
And then Max,
Yeah.
my son Max, who's Claire's twin.
Yep.
He's building. He is the builder. He is the rifle builder at Mountain Billy Gun Lab.
So that's what me. It's one big family, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome to see. Well,
Yeah.
Eric, thanks for coming on. Where do people go to find out more information about Mountain Billy Gun Lab?
So you can go mtnbilly.com. Yep. And then schmidtool.com is where we are for Schmid Tool.
Well, thanks for coming on, buddy. Appreciate you.
No,
So-
of course.
Hey, if you guys want to see any more coffee talks with anybody else in the firearms industry, make sure you like, subscribe, comment below. Thanks again, Eric, for coming on for the coffee talk today.
Thanks for having me, Cameron.
Appreciate
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you.